minutes.
Okay, let me comment on a few of the issues. Let me first start by reacting to something that Chaim said. I think he's exactly right about matching. A lot of these platforms are primarily concerned matching, getting buyers and sellers together. That's actually what the distribution function of an economy is. But it's also what economists think markets do. When you learn economics, you have this fiction that there are markets out there, but we never really paid attention to how hard it is to create a market. I actually once studied how hard it is to create markets, and in fact, following up with something Aviv said, is sort of nothing in the new economy is that new. So let's think about futures markets. Futures markets are a platform. They've been around for a long time. What are the rules under which buyers and sellers bid to each other and markets clear? What are the ways in which stock markets arrange the way trading should occur? These are all rules that have to do with the efficiency of the match, and those sectors of finance people mainly to date, although I always encourage my IO students to take a lot of finance, if you look at the rules of futures markets or equity markets, people have given a lot of thought to how to structure those rules in ways that produce optimal matching outcomes and also prevent conflicts of interest, which is a different way of raising or articulating certain antitrust problems. The second thing I wanted to say, following something that Damien was mentioning, is antitrust can be too slow. One of the characteristics of these markets that Aviv talked about is they're big. They often have economies of scale, natural monopoly characteristics, which is, by the way, what a futures market has. And therefore, they tilt pretty fast. So if you're complaining, saying, gee, that big guy is beating me up, I'm going to go down the tubes, saying, well, in 10 years we'll figure it out, it's too late. It's too late. So that makes antitrust violations that attack entry really highlights their importance. So I was talking about those vertical most favored nations clauses. What does it do to someone who wants to enter with a new product? So let's go back. Aviv and I are manufacturers, okay? And we're doing great. We figured out this way to have high prices. And Chaim comes in and he says to the retailers, these two guys, it's terrible. They have good products, popular. I have a pretty good product. Give me a chance. We can sell it at a low price. And the retailer says, I can sell you a product at a low retail price. I have these most favored nations clauses with Aviv and Dennis. They're popular products. I have to sell yours at the same retail price. Well, he can't get in the market. So now I've killed entry. So I think there has to be something, some mechanism for antitrust to deal with that in these types of markets. And the slow process is really the kiss of death. Now, Aviv talked about the fact that we can get a better distribution of prices, perhaps through matching algorithms, and price distributions can occur. There's one point I want to make about justifications for restrictions that are especially relevant for these digital markets. A traditional justification for restrictions has to do with the prevention of free riding. The prevention of free riding comes about because it's very difficult to identify sales effort that works. That has diminished in the digital economy. So, for example, let me just give you an example from the travel industry. It's possible to determine whether you use an algorithm just to look or just to look for best flights, or if you're a travel agent, and look and then book. And those are different functions. And you can charge for them differently. That gets rid of a lot of justifications for restrictions on who should be allowed to price and who should have access to data. Let's see. I think David raised a very good point about, and Damien, about something economists don't talk about all that time much, and that is process and how we should proceed, and burdens of proof. Economists don't talk much about burdens of proof. It's actually related to statistics. I'm sure Aviv would have a lot to say about sort of type 1 and type 2 errors. But that has to do with Bayesian decision theory. We know, actually, how to figure out, to write down a loss function, and if you tell me the probability distributions, it's the expected harm. That's typically not how courts work, because that's a very hard process to put forward. So I think we have the machinery to do that. I don't know whether people would be comfortable doing that, because they're uncomfortable writing down the loss function, writing down what's the consequence of getting something wrong. They'd rather not be criticized for making mistakes if they do nothing. That, I think, will be changing. And then the final thing I wanted to say was something about dynamic economies, dynamic efforts. I agree that we haven't figured out convincing theoretical models of dynamics. But this is where, even if you don't have the theory, you can look in the past empirically sometimes, and although it's dangerous when you don't have a well worked out theory, sometimes looking in the past can help you. So if you look at what's happened in certain telecommunication regulations when they mandated access by to rivals of a dominant firm, you can see what happened to the firm's incentives to invest. And therefore you get some ideas of what types of access are bad ideas and what types of access are good ideas. So although it'd be helpful to have the theorists work harder and give us convincing theories, I think sometimes you can rely on the data even in the absence of having one theory, and it can help you choose which of the many theories that are possible are most relevant.